Hello, and welcome to Magic is Real, a podcast focused on the fascinating world of near-death experiences, spirit communication, and all things metaphysical and spiritual. The mission of this project is to share messages of hope and inspiration with others, and to spread the word that death is only an illusion. Thank you for being here with an open heart and mind. I wish you peace, light, and love always. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for being here today. I am honored to bring to you a very special guest. This is Dr. Rajiv Parti'S, and he is the author of Dying to Wake Up, A Doctor's Voyage into the Afterlife and the Wisdom He Brought Back. And he's here today to speak with us about his experience, what he's learned, how this experience changed him. Dr. Rajiv, I'm going to call you Raj. I was going to say, Dr. Rajiv Parti'S. Raj, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for being here with your energy and your time. It means the world.
It's my pleasure to be here.
Thank you.
I shortened my name for Americans. I came here 40 years ago, but still, people have a hard time pronouncing my first name, Rajiv. So I said, make it Raj.
Well, it's a beautiful name. Raj is definitely easy to remember. Thank you. Well, first, I'd like to start by having us get to know you a little bit, because your background actually specifically is very relevant to your whole story. But I would love to know, when you were growing up, little Rajiv, what was your spiritual background? What were your attitudes, your perceptions, or your beliefs? And how did you grow up as it pertains to your spiritual journey?
I grew up in a middle-class Hindu family. My father was an air traffic controller and my mother was an English teacher. We were not a religious family. We did not have any deep spiritual practices, except we participated on all Hindu festivals, going to the temples and doing all the rituals. And that's what I learned. And it was more of a bargaining relationship with God. God, get me into medical school. I'll come to such and such temple. I'll walk barefoot, making promises. That was the relationship with God, up in the sky. And then I got into medical school, and that time I had an awakening. Like I was doing dissection one day of a person who was just alive 2 months ago. And I said, what is this life? This person was alive just 2 months ago, and here now I'm dissecting his body. So I became very spiritual that time. And I went to different religions. I read Islam, I read Christianity, I read Hinduism. And then I even left my house to become a monk. And then the head abbot of the monastery in Himalaya sent me back. No, you got to finish your medical school and then come. And then I came to America instead of going to the monastery. So my whole philosophy of life changed.
Wow, that's so interesting to me too, that as a person of science, as you said, you're dissecting a body. So many people in that scientific world are less spiritual because they see the nuts and bolts physiology, and they can say, well, the brain has these neurons, and that's how we perceive the world, and that is our consciousness. So I think it's really interesting that it only made you more curious about the spiritual.
Yeah. What is consciousness? What?
Right.
Yeah.
It's right. We can't, it's not something we can see or touch. And so that's where all of these questions come from. So now I know that you are a cancer survivor, and this is essentially what led you to your near-death experience. Can you talk a little bit about your experience? I know you had prostate cancer.
In 2008, I was diagnosed with prostate cancer, and I went for a radical prostatectomy, which is very curative. It cures the cancer. It was in early stages, but it left me with complications, like it would scar up. I could not go to the bathroom, so the doctor would go and put a lancet the scar, and then I was incontinent, and then the doctor put artificial sphincter after 2 years, And that's what which got infected and got me sepsis and infection and led to a near-death experience during surgery.
Right. Now, at this time, what did your life look like?
My life,
Yeah.
like my life by all worldly standards was very successful, rich Indian doctor.
Mhm.
I was living in a 10,000 square foot house on a golf course, a lake, driving expensive cars. I had sports BMW, and for a SUV I had a Hummer. My wife had a Maserati. Expensive vacations. So that was the goal in life: compete with my friends and make as much money as I could.
Right. So it was a very materialistic sort of
Yeah,
thing. In fact, I heard you say in an interview that while you were doing, you were an anesthesiologist, and while you were serving these patients, that you actually had an emotional disconnect from them. Would
yeah.
you say that, would you say that that's right? It was pretty much you're just doing your job. You're not necessarily emotionally involved.
I was not emotional. I was very good at doing my job. Technically, I was very good. And that's why I became chief of anesthesia, but there was no emotional connection. And that time I was also involved in the stock market a lot.
Mhm.
I used to play stock market at one time in 99, 2000 when the internet bubble was there. You won't remember it, maybe you were not born then. And so I was playing stock market. I had stopped working as a doctor for a few months
Right.
because what I was making in stock market in a day or losing in a day, I was making that in a year as a doctor.
Right. Yeah. So at that time, it was more, you were more money and success focused. So,
Exactly.
yeah. So take us to, if you don't mind, sharing the day of your near death experience. What happened?
As I told you, like the issue was that I had incontinence. My choice was to wear diapers all my life. Our doctor said he can put an artificial sphincter, urethral sphincter, where I can press the button and go to control my bladder. So 13 or 14 days before this near-death experience, he had put in a sphincter, and that got infected. I got high fever, I was shivering, and I was rushed to UCLA, University of California, Los Angeles hospital. I lived in Bakersfield that time. It was hour and a half, 2 hours drive. And we went there and they said, we need to take the device out because it becomes the source of infection. No matter how much antibiotics you give, it doesn't affect the outcome. So the source of infection has to be taken out. And they took me to the emergency surgery. It was Christmas Eve. I still remember it. And then 15 minutes, because I had seen the clock while going into surgery, found myself floating in the near the ceiling. And that's when everything started.
And what was it that started?
First of all, I could hear the surgeons and the anesthesiologists talk about what was happening. And I could hear a joke an anesthesiologist said, but I can't repeat it. It was not a clean joke. And then I realized, as an anesthesiologist myself, part of our job is to keep the room light, unwritten light, to keep jokes, because anesthesia is most critical during putting patient to sleep, then is cruise control, and then while waking up, just like a plane. While taking off is very important, then is cruise control, then landing is very critical. So that was the thing. And then my consciousness went to different realms and different places, and that's when the whole thing I was experiencing. First, it went to hellish realm, and in the hellish realm, I was wondering, why am I here? What did I do? What was my mistakes? I could hear the souls wail and cry. And then I was given the realization that it was because of my disconnecting with my patients, not being a good man as such, money minded, always thinking of how can I make more money in life. So much so I don't know I've written it in the book or not. When I came to America, I became a pediatrician. But pediatricians make the least amount of money in America as doctors. So I went back to school anesthesia and did anesthesia residency to make double the amount of money. So money was my God that time. So I was given the realization about my lifestyle that all led me to Hellish Run. But I cried and cried, and my father showed up. And I had a very, very difficult relationship with my father. My father was product of partition of India. We were Hindus stuck in the part what became Pakistan, and there was mass murder on both the sides, genocide on both the sides. So my father had to run away from Pakistan to India, hiding among dead bodies. In today's age, I would say he was suffering from PTSD. His education was cut short, and he could not become what he wanted to become in life. See, he wanted to make sure I succeed. So he was actually living his life through me. But then I realized that he loved me after all, and I forgave him. And he forgave me. And then he said words of wisdom to me. And he said it in Hindi. He said, बेटा अपनी नीयत साफ रखना भगवान बरकत डालेगा. What that meant is keep your consciousness clear, the God will be with you.
That's beautiful. When you encountered your father, and you're describing this as a hellish realm. Um, First of all, I know that you said you heard people crying. Were there things that you saw also, or was it more of a feeling? And when you saw your father, did you see him as he was in life, or did
No,
you
I
just
saw him
know?
when he was
Yeah,
30 years younger.
yeah, they usually are. I
Yeah.
noticed. Yeah,
And he hugged me. As I said, I realized he really loved me, but he
yeah,
could not express his love.
right,
And he thought himself as a failure in life because of the partition and everything. So he wanted to make sure I'm not a failure in life.
right. That makes
Actually, in my
sense.
10th grade, I had become a very bad student and I had flunked my 10th grade. So he really
Mm.
beat me. I could not go to school for 3 weeks.
Oh,
Yeah.
right. And so when you were in this hellish realm, um, how did you think I'm in hell? And did you think that that's where you were destined to be forever when you were there?
You know what I realized? If you're in hell, if you ask for help, from God, I was praying to God, you can get out of hell.
Yeah.
So you're not stuck in hell forever.
That's what I keep hearing from lots of you. And that's my belief as well. And I wanted to know what your belief about that is, because it seems as though hell is just shown to you as a reflection of where you are in your life at that moment. But it
Yeah.
doesn't mean you're punished and this is where you go for the rest of time because you did something bad. It just almost feels like a reflection, almost like a life review, right? But
Yeah.
it's sort of like, hey, this is you're in the darkness. Do you want to elevate? What do you say about that?
I agree with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So my father then led me towards the tunnel. And in the tunnel, I had experience of review of my present life, and actually I experienced my past lives.
Oh, wow.
And in the past life, I was a medieval prince, medieval Europe prince, and I was whipping the farmers, and I was ordering my soldiers to whip them. You didn't produce enough, make more wheat, or make more produce, give more produce. And I asked for forgiveness from them. And incidentally, my right wrist used to hurt a lot. So much so at times I was not able to work in this life.
Mm-hmm.
And I even had a surgery for it to correct that. It still kept hurting. But when I asked for forgiveness from them and they forgave me, when I woke up, my pain was gone.
Wow, you know, you're one of the only people I've ever heard say that when you had your life review, you also had a review of a past life at the same time. That's very interesting to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then you had a life review also of this
Um,
life, I
Yeah,
assume?
good and bad both. I
Yeah.
was not always bad, I
No.
had good qualities too.
Of course. I think we all do.
Yeah.
And so when you were shown these things, what was the feeling? Because from what I understand, it's not a judgment. It's just something for you to review.
To review and to learn from it.
Yeah. Did you feel like we've all done things that have hurt other people, even if we're good people, because it's just human nature? Were you able to, from what I've heard too, people will say that they were sort of put in the shoes of the person that they hurt,
Oh yeah.
or the person they did good to.
I was made to feel good or bad. I was
Yeah.
made to feel what the other person was feeling.
Yeah.
If
Did
if they were feeling happy, I was made to feel happiness. If
right.
they were feeling sad from my actions, I was made to feel sad. So I
Right.
could identify with their feelings.
Yes. Yeah, were you taken to I've heard a lot of people say it's not just a feeling, but they're actually transported to that time and place, only they are in a role reversal. So they are that person instead of them. Was it
Yeah,
like that for you?
yeah, it
Yeah.
was like that. Yeah, I could, that's what I'm saying. I could feel what they were feeling.
Yeah. That's so interesting to me. And now I know that you encountered angels because there are a lot of messages. Of course, they're in your book. So I recommend everyone read it. But what I find so interesting is I'd love to hear what you learned, how you encountered them, and then what it was
On the
that they showed you.
other side of the tunnel, I encountered two angels. And I knew they're angels in Christianity, but I didn't know the details beyond that. And then they telepathically introduced me that one was Michael and one was Raphael. And
Wow.
Raphael made total sense later on when I studied because he's the angel for doctors and for people who are sick who need healing. And then Michael is the head angel who is the chief, and he gives you strength, power, and leads you out of weakness to strength. So, and then later on in my life, I encountered Gabriel too.
Oh, wow. And since you didn't believe in angels previously, was this information given to you through osmosis in a sense? Or did they explain to you who they were and what they did? Or did you research that later?
It's all the things are true.
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And so what was yeah, go I was gonna say,
I
what
was
was the
just going to say,
yeah.
like when I told this to my wife, her first reaction was, "What happened to thousands of Indian god and goddesses?
Right, where
Why
were
they
they?
didn't show up?"
Right.
Yeah. But
Yeah,
I had no answer for it. I said, "I'm telling you what it was."
right. I'm a medium and we don't get to choose what spirit says or does. We just give what spirit gives us, right? So,
Yeah.
what was the purpose of them interacting with you? What did they say to you or impart to you? I know sometimes people describe it as telepathic
Yeah,
communication.
it was a telepathic communication, and like mainly they imparted to me was that my life as an anesthesiologist, my present life is going to be over. I call it Raj 1.0, and the one who woke up or Raj 2.0. So they said they will guide me, and then I floated above a stream, and then I was in the presence of light, and I was given the information that my life is not over, and but I have to change my ways and to have to serve the my fellow human beings in a different capacity.
Right, and did you understand what capacity that was at that time?
I was told I have to be a healer, but then they left it to me to discover.
That happens a lot, I think, because
Yeah,
it's still part of your journey to the unfolding is part
yeah,
of the reason we're
exactly.
here, right?
And now where I am right now, for last few years, I think I have found my purpose.
That's interesting, and I don't wanna breeze over some other things that happened, but I do wanna come back to that because I would love to hear the evolution of how you discovered that on your own. And so as you're in
No,
this
I was
other.
helped by angels too.
Yeah, so tell me about that.
You know, I started doing Ayurveda courses. I
Uh-huh.
did meditation courses from Chopra University.
Yeah.
I did courses on EFT. I did courses. What other courses did I do? I did multiple courses. And then I had a dream or a vision where I met the angels again. And they guided me. And I had a shared that experience when my best friend died.
You did?
Yeah, when my soul went up to certain place and there was a wall and I had to turn back. And there I had felt the presence of Jesus and I was told, why am I running around here and there? I should follow what I was shown. Because in my near-death experience, I had felt the presence of Jesus. I had not seen. But here I felt, and I think saw the shadow of Jesus. And I was told my name will be Michael in future. So when I came back, I looked for a church, local church, Twin Lakes Church in Aptos, California,
Mhm.
and they even baptized me, and they baptized me in the ocean. It was a ceremony, proper ceremony, like Christ was baptized in the Jordan River. So
Mhm.
they took me to the Pacific Ocean in the name of Jesus Christ. They baptized me.
So when you're in this you're still in your near-death experience, how long does it feel like you've been there? Because there's no time on the other side.
There's no time on the
So
other side.
what is the I know it's hard to put into words. What was your understanding of or your perception of that, of time and how long this whole experience took?
That time was, I had seen the clock when we went in. I know what time it started approximately, but then I woke up in recovery room, so I don't know exactly. I can how long it exactly lasted. I can calculate from the 15 minutes in the operating room to when I woke up.
Right. How was it that you came back?
It was with a jolt,
Yeah.
you know.
Was it yeah. What had happened? I mean, did the doctor say, "We lost you," or did they not even know that this had happened?
They said we lost you, your blood pressure dropped, and we had to take emergency measures.
Okay.
So doctors, don't believe in these things. I didn't believe
Understood.
when a patient told me, but nurses, they are more believing, and they had heard these incidents in their life before. So that's how they believed it. And my wife was believed me, but then when my life started changing, then her belief became 100%.
Right. Was there the question that maybe this all was a sort of hallucination while you were under? Is that
that,
sort of
that that's what it was. But nobody leaves a very lucrative job as an anesthesiologist for a spiritual path
yeah,
just like that.
exactly.
And anesthesiologist is one of the best paying jobs in US.
Right. You were doing very well for yourself.
Yeah, I was.
Yeah. So
Hmm.
when you came back into your body, I'm sure, how did you feel? I know it can be quite uncomfortable to come from that realm back into this realm. How did you adjust and how did you process what had happened to you?
I had a lot of gratitude for the experience.
Yeah.
I felt like going on my knees and thank God or thank heavens for the experience I had.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so when you came back to your normal life, at this time, were you still an anesthesiologist? Were you still working?
Yeah, I was working, but then I left it and I sold my Hummer, and then
Did.
I did. My life literally and figuratively went from Hummer to hybrid.
That's such a great analogy. I mean, it's literal and an analogy. Like, how long was it after this where you just said, did you quit or did you keep working but then start to study spirituality at the same time?
I think studied spirituality for a month or two and then I quit.
Yeah, that's so
My
did you know
my,
what you
my friends thought I've gone crazy.
I'll bet. And
Yeah.
so what was it specifically do you think at the did you think at that time you were actually seeking to do? Did you have an end goal or was it more I'm going to explore because I have a curiosity?
It was to explore to be a healer.
Yeah. And I think that's wonderful too, coming from a medical background
Yeah.
to being a healer. I think it actually links up quite nicely because you have such a knowledge of the body and,
Yeah.
what's happening in the body. And now you can take it to a spiritual level. After you had your near death experience and you're living your life, did you find that you had a greater connection with the other side? Did you have more
Oh
intuitive?
yeah.
Yeah. How did you change in that way?
No, I had a definite greater connection with the other side. I could get answers in my dreams,
Yeah.
or I could have visitations from the angels, especially. I didn't know how to speak in public. I got a good book contract, and I started speaking in public about my book and my near death experience. So Angel Gabriel helped me. Actually, in my living room, I have statues of all the three angels: Michael, Gabriel, and Raphael.
Oh, wow. And so as you're studying, and you're taking all these classes, was there one area that interested you more than others?
You know how spirituality, consciousness can heal. You know how the shift in consciousness can help people heal, especially what I call the disease of the soul. Addiction, mental diseases like that.
Yeah, that is really fascinating. And actually, can you speak a little bit about that? How a shift of consciousness or perspective can help heal those afflictions?
Addiction is person has need for something, and that need is being fulfilled by the substance.
Yeah.
And if the need can be fulfilled by spiritual experience, by meditation and prayer, then person doesn't need to use a substance to reach that consciousness, because with meditation, deep meditation, you are in touch with your deeper self. You realize your inner uh, consciousness, your inner Christ, and from there you don't need it.
That's absolutely true. I can speak from experience. I'm a sex and love addict and have been sober for 15, in 12 step, but it really was the reason for me the 12 step program worked was it was finding that higher power. Hard for me at first. I resisted and resisted, but it's amazing how now those uncomfortable feelings I felt that I was trying to escape from by intriguing and engaging with unavailable people, trying to get validation from everybody because it was never enough attention or a validation or I didn't feel okay unless you thought I was okay. And
Yeah,
now it's such I feel like I'm in this new chapter of freedom because now if I have an uncomfortable feeling, yoga, meditation,
yeah.
talking with spirit, I don't go to those dark places anymore. I don't reach out. I don't feel like a compulsion to act out in any way because I always said that all addictions stem from love addiction, which is my primary addiction is love addiction
Hmm.
because I'm a loving person and all addictions stem from that lack of love in yourself.
In
L
yourself,
Yeah, in yourself, yeah,
that's the critical words you use, in yourself.
right, and I think we all try to look if we don't know better, we try to look for it somewhere else because we don't know how to find it.
Yeah.
How do we love ourselves? In fact, I'd love to hear you speak on that. What do you think? How do we love ourselves truly? Other than, it's not just a mantra. It's not just it's not convincing yourself. How do we find self-love?
By actions, it's, taking time out for yourself, go pamper yourself, go for a massage, go in the woods by yourself, and meditate, like this loving and kindness meditations, you can do it on Insight Timer, like loving kindness meditation that really helps you connect with love, and you can do Buddhist meditation to connect with the love within you.
Yeah,
One of the like mudita, Buddhist meditation, where I am happy because you are happy.
right.
You know.
I think that's true. And I also felt for me that it was being of service to others. You don't have to do anything grand. I mean, you don't have to, start a nonprofit if you don't have the means or the will. But I think it's every day just smiling at someone, showing an act of kindness,
Yeah.
and also integrity. Because when you act with integrity and kindness, you respect yourself. And
Yeah.
so I think you're right. When you hit it on the head when you said actions.
Yeah. My father said the same thing. If you keep your consciousness clear, the divine will take care of you.
Yes.
And what's coming to my mind is a Mother Teresa quote where she said, "We all can't do great things, but we can all do little things with great love."
That's beautiful. I actually hadn't heard that. And I think that's true. It's if we show love to others and we do good quote unquote good deeds, and we act with kindness, integrity, and the wish to serve others, then we can really and one of my favorite expressions that from 12 step is if keeping your side of the street clean. So no matter what anybody else does, you just keep acting grounded in integrity, in love. You can't hate yourself when you're doing things that you feel proud of. And you feel
Yeah.
proud when you're doing things with integrity. So integrity is a big one. Now, I'd love to hear too. I know you've written a whole book about it, and I haven't had a chance to read the book, and I'm
And the
actually,
other thing I would
yeah.
say, self forgiveness is big for me too.
Oh, yes.
Self love and self forgiveness go hand in hand.
I would love to hear you speak about that. A friend of mine just told me that he's working with his therapist and differentiating between self-love and self-compassion. And he said he's really learning to find compassion for himself above all else. Do you have any thoughts about what you just said or anything else around that?
These are very, is a fine difference in compassion, and compassion is kind of forgiveness, and love. They all combine together. For me, they're all similar.
Yeah.
It's like splitting the hair,
Mm,
trying to find exact fine difference. You cannot have self love if you don't have self compassion and or self forgiveness.
very well said. So, I was going to say that a lot of this is in your book, and I'm actually really excited to read your book because I have a pile of them I haven't had a chance to read yet.
I know
But
you get so many
I
books.
get so many, and I do it. I have them all piled up, and I do read them, but it takes me a long time. So, I would love to know what are some of the most important things that these angels imparted to you about how we live, how we live our lives in this world, and anything else you'd like to speak on, healing,
You know,
anything. Yeah.
love and integrity, and I call it serve without any motive,
Hmm.
which is the Sanskrit word seva. If everybody did seva, the world would change, especially the politicians really did seva.
Yeah.
You know, do something beyond your own needs. A doctor should take care of the patient and then worry about whether the
Mhm.
patient has insurance or not.
Right. Yeah.
You know, because he went to medical school and took the Hippocratic oath.
Hmm. That's
So
right.
a nurse should take care of that. Teacher should have passion to teach,
Hmm.
because that passion rubs on the students. zeal to teach, not be burnt out themselves.
Right.
So it's to have joy and spread joy, and to forgive yourself and forgive others is important, as I said before. Because for me, when I lost so much money in stock market, I had resentment for a few years. But when after my near-death experience, I forgave myself, the things changed.
That's beautiful. And how did this experience change how you interacted with the people around you? Not just your loved ones, but strangers on the street or your family or um, in general, how did you feel different in your interactions and your relationships?
I became a very empathetic person, kind, listening, and originally my relationship with my wife improved a lot. But 5 years, now I'm talking about the last 10, 12 years. But in the last 5 years, we had challenges because I was not the same person she married.
Hmm.
And actually, the divorce rate of people who had a near death experience is double the people who didn't have near death experience, where the person has changed. Even Dr. Eben Alexander had a divorce.
Yep.
You know,
I've heard this too. It's you're coming from complete different worldviews. And even if they believe in what you experienced, they
yeah,
weren't there. And so you're sort of half spirit, half man, which we all are spirit,
yeah.
but we're not always as aware of our souls
But
as
when I practiced what I was teaching, love, forgiveness, and self compassion, I put it in use. And me and my wife forgave each other. We were one signature short of divorce.
mm,
And from there, we turned around. And now our 35 years are going to be up in February. And last 5 years have been the best 5 years of our marriage.
oh, that's so beautiful. Without you don't have to talk about anything personal, but what is it, do you think? What was the magic formula for that?
Doing the small things, caring, and respecting. People talk about love, but it's not just love, it's respect and care.
Yes. I think people
Like small thing. My wife had asked for a coffee from me in a mall about 5 years ago. And I asked her, what do you want? And she said, don't you know what I want? We have been married for 25 years. I didn't know her dress size because of that. I had never bought her a dress. So these small things count. Now, just a small act. Every night she likes to have water on her nightstand. It's my job out of pleasure. I put that water by her nightstand. The small action counts.
that's very sweet. It's true. I think a lot of people think love is a feeling, and it's a lot about actions, and a lot of people go into relationships unconsciously thinking, what can I get out of this? Not even being aware that that's the motive. It's like, well, when I'm with this person, they make me feel good about myself, or I feel attracted to them, or I enjoy laughing with them. But a lot of people forget the element of what can I bring to the relationship? How
Yeah,
can
what
I
can I
be of
bring? What can
service?
I give?
What
Yeah,
can I give? And I think that's very common. It's
yeah,
not unusual that we do that because, of course, we're attracted and we think, I want more of this good feeling, but we forget that partnership is a different thing.
yeah,
How can we serve each other? How can we be of the most service? And
yeah,
like you said, noticing what kind of coffee she likes and what size dress she wears. And that is something I'm guilty of not knowing those things too. I hadn't even seen my long-term partner's handwriting for like years into our relationship. One day he wrote me something and I was like, oh, so that's what your handwriting looks like. I never knew. So yeah, I love that point that you made. And when you received this information from the angels, again, you said it was telepathy. Was it sort of like this big wave of knowing all of these things and wanting to take them back and share them? Or did they tell you certain things that they wanted you to know?
it was both at different times,
Yeah.
you know. It's
Yeah.
both at different times. So my journey, what I was telling, I got baptized in the traditional church. And then that was not vibing with me, that the white man sitting on the throne and give resentful God, giving punishment to somebody and rewards to somebody. Oh, you are a good boy, so you can have your car. You're a bad boy, I'll give you cancer.
Yeah.
That God was not, for me personally, was not the God I was looking for. Then I came across one philosophy of Christianity called New Thought, where God is good and we are parts of God. God is within us. God is not up in the sky. So that philosophy resonated with me. So I started going to the New Thought Church. That's where I am now.
Oh, I'll have to look into that. I agree with you. I never resonated with the idea of it's this guy. They make God like Santa Claus. Like, if you're good, I'll bring you presents. If you're bad, I'm going to give you a lump of coal. I personally don't see that that's what God is. I think we're all God. We're all part of God.
That's what
Even,
the New Thought movement is. If you Google New Thought, and there are three main things: unity and Center for Spiritual Living, and one is Christian Science.
mhm,
So, so for me, is unity. Because unity still believes in Jesus as a way sure, and I did not want to move away from Jesus.
right. Yeah. Now, what kind of work are you presently doing?
Presently, I'm giving lectures and workshops on conscious healing because in Unity, they talk about 12 powers of man. Again, you can Google it, 12 powers of man. That we all have latent uh, powers which are actually working subconsciously. They are like zeal, strength, imagination, and power, and then will, understanding. So you can develop these powers to heal yourself, to get what you want in life and move on. So I'm concentrating my studies on the 12 powers. Today only I gave a lecture on that and it went very good.
Oh, great. Now, you've written several books, haven't you?
Yeah.
Um, so can you just share a little bit about what's in the book so that people can
My
look into
main
them?
book is Dying to Wake Up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's the main book.
And what will people find? What kind of wisdom will they find in that book?
They'll find wisdom for forgiveness, how to live, how to love, you know. But that book is before my issues with my wife.
Mhm. Okay.
So you I think, the first person I'm telling this publicly.
Wow. Well, that's an honor.
But
Yeah.
people need to listen to it. Like small things can make change wonders. One signature shot from divorce to be happily married. We even went to the temple to get married the second time.
Oh, so you renewed your vows.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
were
that's
not legally
beautiful.
separated, but we renewed our vows.
Oh, that's so wonderful. So it's a rebirth, really. It's a
Yeah, it's a
renaissance for
rebirth.
you. That's so
Yeah.
incredible. How else would you say that this experience in what other ways has it changed you?
Oh, it has changed me. And that's why I say I had two near death experiences, one of the physical body, one of my marriage.
Ah, yeah.
You know, it was almost dead. And from there, it was my wife's effort too. So we both jointly decided to work on it.
Oh, that's nice. That's
Yeah.
so inspiring. And I would love to know too, what is it that you really, especially now, because there's so much division and strife and violence that's happening in this world. First of all, I'd love to hear your take on why these things are happening, or is there a greater purpose? And what do you think is happening, and where are we going as a species? But also, what do you want people to know about all of that?
I think we are in an evolutionary phase, and something good is going to come out of it. Like death is a necessary part for life to happen. So my marriage, giving example again, had to die. The old marriage had to die for new marriage to take its place.
Yeah.
Both couldn't have existed the same way. Similarly, society has to transform, has to go through these gyrations for something new to come out. Like in a forest fires are bad, but it is killing the dead trees more so the new trees can spring up.
Hmm. It's
So
tower moment. Yeah.
yeah, it's a cycle of nature.
That makes a lot of sense. And that's what I'm hearing from a lot of you, people who have crossed over to the other side and returned. The message has been have heart, because I mean, it kind of has to, it's like a tower moment in the tarot card deck, where everything is burning to the ground so that new life can grow. And it's a difficult time, but there seems to be a real wave of hope that I see coming and within the spiritual community.
Yeah,
Would you agree?
something, that's why I said that I gave the example of the forest.
Yeah, yeah.
It is painful, but old trees have to die for the new trees to be born.
Hmm.
You
Yeah.
know, you know.
Yeah, no, and what is there, if there's one thing you just wanted to share with all of humanity? This is a big one, I know, but I like to spring it on people to see what comes to their mind first. If there's one thing you want people to know, what is it?
Yeah, two, three things, but one thing,
You can name two or three if you want to. Whatever
one
comes to
thing,
mind.
love is not enough, but you have to respect and care for the person.
I love that one. What are the other ones?
Self forgiveness and self compassion does wonders to your life.
Yeah.
And then only you can go proceed further to. If you can't forgive yourself, you can't forgive other people truly. And self forgiveness is the hardest forgiveness.
Yes. And self-love. If you don't love yourself, you
Yeah,
can't wholly love. If you can't show up for yourself, how can you show up for someone else?
yeah. Hmm.
There was another one. What was you said maybe three.
I had two, three, so
Yeah,
these are
too
my
bad.
two.
You didn't know we hadn't exactly counted. Well, those are beautiful. Um, is there anything else that you wanted to share that I haven't asked you?
No, you asked me all wonderful questions.
Good. Well, you've provided wonderful answers. I'm very excited to read your book because I want to know more, and I know that my audience will want to know more too. So I just really thank you for showing up today to share what you've learned and to bring your beautiful energy here, just to spread the word that this is not all there is,
Yeah,
and that there is
there's
hope.
something beyond that. And my other third, you can call it, you don't have to die to enjoy the benefits of a near-death experience. You can
Tell me
make
about that.
heaven,
Yeah.
you can make heaven living in the present life
How can you do that? That's beautiful.
by prayer, meditation, service. Service is a big main thing about me, you know,
Yeah.
loving kindness service. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Actually, I think I'm thinking of writing another book, Dying to Love.
please do. I
Like
think
this was Dying to Wake Up, based on my,
yes.
love story, how I revived it, second near-death experience, Dying to Love.
Do you know how many people would benefit from that? Do you know how many people I know who are getting divorced right now or who have just gotten divorced? It feels like it just feels like we need this book. So
Yeah.
when you feel inspired, write it down because I would definitely pass it on to a lot of people that I know.
Okay.
Well, thank you again, Dr. Rajiv Parti. You are such a beautiful person, and I'm so honored to have had you here today.
Thank you, Shannon. It was my pleasure.
My pleasure too.